you've heard it said, there are different classifications of sexual sin. The idea is that within religious circles, there are acceptable sexual sins and there are unacceptable sexual sins. And so we draw these circles. And we put ourselves in a circle where we say, hey, there's some things natural to men or natural that we struggle with these kind of things. And we put ourselves in this circle and we say, this is acceptable. And then we look at that circle over there and we say, well, those things over there, not the things that we struggle with, the things that they struggle with, those are not acceptable. And we stand at a distance over here in this circle, judging the people in that circle. And then we want pastor to come to preach. And we don't want pastor to talk about the people, me or the people in my circle. We want pastor to talk about the people in that circle over there. And here's what Jesus does in Matthew chapter 5. He basically enlarges the circle. That's what he says. You have heard it said, you shall not commit adultery. So he draws a circle and says that people have been taught that there is a circle of sexual sin called adultery. And very specifically defined means you're married, but then you go have sex with somebody else. That's not your wife. That's adultery. That's a sexual sin that was bad. That one is. And so Jesus is making some clarifying and he's also correcting. And he says, but I say unto you, anyone who looks at a woman lustfully, and I guess we should say looks at a man lustfully too, has already committed adultery with her or him in his own heart or her own heart. And what Jesus does in this verse is he basically says, here's the circle that you've drawn, but here's the circle I'm drawing. All of us have some measure of guilt when it comes to that. There's one big circle. And here's what happens. What happens is that we are over here and we're judging those people over there. Now look, if you want to play that game of what sin is the most repulsive to God, the Bible gives a pretty good, there's a solid case in the Bible that the sin that's most repulsive to God is self-righteous pride. So you want to know what the sin that's most repulsive to God is that I stand in this circle over here with my own set of sexual sins, and I look at that one over there and I say, yeah, they're bad. At least I'm not them. I'm closer to God than they are. That's the sin that's most repulsive to God. And so, I'm sorry if the church has put you in a circle and judged you and shamed you because of your sexual sin. I'm sorry to the woman who came to me years ago, whispered to me through her tears, I just got a divorce and the church won't let me go back there. All the while my husband and his new wife sit in the second row. I want to say I'm sorry to the man who grew up in church with feelings of same-sex attraction and was made fun of and essentially pushed away from Jesus. I'm sorry if you've ever been asked to leave a church while you were in the middle of your struggle, trying to understand what God's view and purpose is for your sexuality. I'm sorry if you happen to be sitting here in church and there's someone also sitting here in church that should say they're sorry, but they haven't. I'm sorry. It breaks my heart to see how the church has done this. And you know what, guys? I'm convicted of that. It's been a journey for me, for sure. And I've grown in this journey to understand God's heart for this. But I'm sorry if I haven't said what I needed to say to you. Listen, the church isn't perfect. None of us are. But we shouldn't let's not make that an excuse for unkindness. Let's not make that an excuse for withholding grace and compassion.